We're going to look at this one that has decimals, and we're going to clear it. We're going to pick a power of 10 that's based on the most number of digits behind the decimal point. And in fact, all of these have 2 digits, so we're going to pick a 1 with 2 zeros. So we're going to clear with 100. And we're going to apply it to 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. 12 plus 24n is greater than, make sure we keep this as an inequality, 5 minus 11. Next, we're going to just apply all of our equation solving skills, even though it's just an inequality. We'll simplify the right side. Then we will isolate the variable. And then we are going to divide or multiply by the reciprocal. So either multiply by 1 over 24 or divide just by 24. And since we are dividing by a positive value, that means that the inequality is going to face the same way. And we're going to simplify each one of these. In fact, pick a larger value. How about 6? And you don't need to show that step if you can do that in your head. So we have negative 3/4. N is greater than negative 3/4. Make sure variable's on the left and you still have an inequality sign. It's not an equal sign. And double check that you didn't change the type of inequality sign. This one does not have the equal sign underneath it. We're going to look at 13. This one has a fraction, so we could clear it. But before we do that, just to avoid double dipping, we are going to distribute. 2 times 1 is 2, and 2 times a half is 1. X, and a positive times a negative is a negative, plus x is greater than negative 8. So it kind of self-clears. Next, we're going to combine like terms, and we're left with 2 is greater than negative 8. The next question to ask ourselves is whether this statement is true or false. Notice all the variables are gone. Is 2 greater than negative 8? And 2 is greater than negative 8, so we're going to put true. And that means that this is true for all values that we plug in. And this was called infinitely many solutions. We also had this come up with equations, not just inequalities, and we will see that again when we get to equations again. I sometimes abbreviate it like this. There's not really any other way. So these are your 2 options. And even though we're not graphing a lot of these, I would like to graph this one. There is a graph for this. Just pick some values to plot on our number line. And think for a second, what would it mean to have infinitely many solutions, or any value works? That would mean that you would actually have the whole number line shaded or filled in. Anything will work. Positives, negatives, 0, whole numbers, fractions, decimals. Look at 2 more. 14. We're going to clear this, and our LCD is, well, 16 would work, but the least common denominator would be 8. And these 8s are going to cancel. We're going to be left with 3. And then this 8 and 2 will cancel, and we're going to be left with a 4 times the quantity 2 minus n. Distribute the 4. So one more time. This was a 1, and this was a 4. That's how we got this 4 here. And then it resets when we apply it to the 3/8. 8 minus 4n is less than 3. And we are going to divide by a negative. And the dividing by a negative, the fact that this is negative, or multiplying by negative 1/4, that's going to cause my inequality sign to flip. And so it changes. So now we have n is greater than 5/4, or 1 1/4. Again, we're not focused on graphing. We did graph 13 because it was kind of a cool graph, just as a refresher. And last one is 15 on this video. And we're going to clear this one, but to avoid double dipping issues and the fact that there's lots of parentheses, we'll just start by distributing. Or if you remember how to do this without distributing, without double dipping, you could try it that way. I'm going to double check I haven't made an error. I distributed 2 times. And now I'm going to clear with the LCD, or the only denominator, which is a 5. And I'm going to distribute this a lot. So 5 times 1/5 is 1n, plus 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times negative 1n is negative 5n. 5 times 3/5 is 3, less than or equal to 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. Double check that I kept all my variable terms and all my constants. Next, I'm going to combine like terms. Negative 4n plus 13 is less than or equal to negative 15. And our inequality sign flips again because we're dividing by negative 4. And so that was a refresher on solving inequalities. It is the same as solving equations as far as steps go. We just need to make sure that we are careful in keeping our inequality sign and paying close attention in the last step as to whether the inequality sign flips. Double check that your answer has the variable on the left. With each one of these, it should not be the backward statement. Although it's equal, it is not acceptable to do this, so please make sure you flip-flop it as needed.